The Monmouth Rebellion of 1685 might just be the most dramatic 6 weeks in British history that most people have never heard of. Imagine a rebel army of farmers with pitchforks taking on the king's professional soldiers, all while a £5,000 bounty hangs over their leader's head. Imagine an uncle signing the death warrant of his nephew, who is later butchered by the headsman, rather than executed.
It's stunning how they actually managed to mount a serious challenge. The Duke of Monmouth sailed from Holland with only 3 ships, field guns, and 1,500 muskets. Didn't he start his rebellion with only 82 supporters? What on earth made him think he could succeed?
Well, the initial stages were remarkably successful. Monmouth's forces, mostly local militia, captured strategic towns like Axminster and Bridgewater. By June 20th, they'd taken Taunton, where the locals were so confident they actually proclaimed him King of England.
But something must have gone wrong. I mean, we're talking about a rebellion that lasted just 6 weeks.
That's exactly right. And what's fascinating is how quickly it all unravelled. You see, they were banking on this coordinated Protestant uprising across multiple regions. Cheshire, Lancashire and even Scotland. But none of that materialised. It's like throwing a party and realising all the affirmative RSVP were lies.
And the leadership situation sounds like it was a complete mess. I mean, one of their key leaders, Thomas Hayward-Dare, got arrested for shooting another leader dead.
Oh, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. Noted military strategist Field Marshal Wolseley later said Monmouth failed to understand that loss of time was absolutely fatal to his cause. The rebel army spent 4 days just camping outside Bristol when they should have attacked immediately.
So what you're saying is they basically gave the government forces time to organise their response.
Exactly. And boy, did they respond. The government put up that massive £5,000 reward, worth millions today, and allocated £400,000 to defeat the rebellion. But here's what's really interesting. The ghost of the English Civil War was still haunting everyone. That conflict had ended just 35 years earlier, and many potential supporters of Monmouth, mostly Whig landowners, were terrified of sparking another civil war.
Well, that's a crucial piece of context. The psychological impact of historical trauma shaping political decisions.
And then Mother Nature decided to join the fight. 12 days of heavy rain absolutely demolished rebel morale. Picture these poorly equipped farmers turned soldiers, soaking wet, watching their comrades desert while the professional royalist forces under John Churchill, who would later become the famous Duke of Marlborough, slowly closed in around them.
The royalist strategy does sound impressive, turning the southwest of England into one big trap.
It was brilliant. They secured Bristol, captured Lyme Regis, and systematically cut off every escape route. But here's where it gets really interesting. At the final Battle of Sedgemoor on July 6th, the royalist forces were actually drunk and disorganised. The rebels might have had a chance if their night attack hadn't gone so terribly wrong.
That's quite the twist. What happened with the attack?
Well, they had this local guide who got completely lost, the mist that was supposed to help them actually confuse their own forces, and then they got caught crossing this drainage ditch called the Bussex Rhine. It was like everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
The whole thing sounds like a tragic comedy of errors.
You know what's really striking, though? This rebellion, while it failed, was actually a precursor to the successful Glorious Revolution just 3 years later. The same concerns about James II's Catholicism and absolutist tendencies that motivated Monmouth's supporters would eventually lead to James's overthrow, but this time through a much better organised intervention.
That's such an important point about how failed movements can still influence history.
And the aftermath was brutal. The infamous bloody assizes led to hundreds of executions and deportations. It really shows how these moments of political violence can tear apart communities for generations. But what's fascinating is how this story encapsulates so many timeless themes about power, rebellion, and the complex nature of political change.
Looking at it that way, it's almost like a blueprint for understanding why some rebellions succeed while others fail.
Exactly. It all comes down to timing, coordination, leadership, and broad-based support. The Monmouth Rebellion shows us that having a cause isn't enough. You need organisation, strategy, and the right historical moment. It's a lesson that's just as relevant today as it was in 1685. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope you found it interesting. Please leave a like and consider subscribing. The Monmouth Rebellion is one of my favourite topics, and I left so much out. The capture and execution of the Duke of Monmouth are worth exploring further. I first took an interest in the Monmouth Rebellion after listening to two stories on the radio as a child: The Judge's House by Bram Stoker and Lorna Doone by R.D. Blackmore. They are set in the context of the Monmouth Rebellion, and I recommend both wholeheartedly. Once again, thank you for your support. It means a great deal to me.